I am so glad that you're here today. I am Dr. Joe, and exciting news. You know me, I like to be the one who brings you the news first. And there's some really exciting news in the world of pain management. Now, I know that may not be something exciting to you if you're not a chronic pain patient, but all of us at some time suffer pain, right? Raise your hand if you have pain. All right, we all do. And for years, and in fact, chiropractic started September 18th, 1895. For years, we've been trying to get the message across to the orthodox, the ordinary medical world, that treating the symptoms is okay, but you ultimately want to get to the cause of the pain and not just treat the symptoms. Everybody agree with that? I don't think anyone would not agree with that. And so what's happening is there's a new guideline that's being introduced, and I'm going to read to you a segment from the National Association of Attorneys General. Now, this letter came out September 18th, which I found ironic, because that was the day that chiropractic was founded. First adjustment was September 18th, 1895. This one came out September 18th, 2017. And it's new pain management guidelines. First paragraph, the undersigned state attorneys generals are sending you this letter. Now, they're sending it to the insurance companies of the world. This one was to Marilyn Tavernier, President and CEO of America's Health Insurance Plans. Oh, excuse me, I got excited there. The undersigned state attorneys generals are sending you this letter to urge America's health insurance plans to take proactive steps and encourage your members to review their payment and policy coverage and revise them as necessary and appropriate to encourage, here we go, healthcare providers to prioritize non-opioid pain management options over opioid prescriptions for the treatment of chronic non-cancer patients. Because if you've listened to the news at all lately, you know that there's an opioid crisis. Now, this has been around for a long time. It's finally making headlines. And the opioid crisis is that people are dying every single day from taking opioid drugs. Now, we're going to talk about what opioid drugs are in just a second, so don't get lost if you don't know what they are. And we're going to tell you how they work, and we're going to talk about why they work, and why they work so well that sometimes people get addicted to them. Now, everybody has a different level or tolerance to addiction. Some people can take something one time and get addicted, like opioid drugs, and other people can take it prescribed and they're fine. But you don't know if you're going to be one of these addicts until you take the drug. And that's where the problem comes in. As far as I know, there's no way to test you to see if you're going to become an addict. You take it, you become addicted. You take it, you don't become addicted. So basic everyday people are becoming addicts. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He's a dentist. And we were talking, and we started chatting. He said, "You single?" I said, "Yeah, I'm single." "You single?" He said, "Well, I am." He says, "I was married." And his wife had some back pain. And she went to a doctor, gave her opioids, followed the guidelines, nothing wrong with what the doctor did, but she became addicted. And from that point, she couldn't keep getting prescriptions, so she started doing heroin. Now, here she is, the wife of a very well-established dentist, a pillar in the community, fine young man, well, older man, my age. And she became a heroin addict. And she was out in the streets getting heroin. And eventually, she died. It killed her. And he said it was so sad because once she got the addiction going, I tried sending her to addiction centers and everything. But once the addiction sets in, you don't have any more logic. Logic goes out the window. So there's a big concern about people taking opioids and getting addicted to them. And the good news is finally, the new guidelines are coming out too. I'm going to talk about the new guidelines in just a second for hospitals to address pain management, not with opioids, but with alternatives first. Not saying you can't ever use opioids, but they're recommending alternatives because, finally, the studies have been out for years showing that things like chiropractic care, for example, is more effective than drug therapy in low back, and now finally there's new studies out on neck studies, neck pain, more effective, less expensive, and of course no addiction there, than using many of the drugs. So why wouldn't you choose the thing that's less expensive, works better, less time out of work, with no chance of addiction? I don't see a downside to it. And now finally the state's attorneys general are getting that too. The economic toll, this is from the letter again, the economic toll of the epidemic is tremendous. It cost the United States an estimated, ready for this, $78.5 billion with a B dollars annually. This is the opioid addiction crisis. State and local governments alone spend nearly $8 billion a year on criminal justice costs related to opioid abuse because it's illegal. And people do it, and they break the law, and now you got to put them in jail. Human cost is even more staggering. Opioid overdoses kill 91 Americans every single day. So when you woke up this morning till the time you go to sleep tonight, 91 Americans will die from opioid overdoses. More than half of those deaths are involved with prescription opioids. So once again, it works great. You know, you're passing a kidney stone, which is extremely painful. Give somebody opioids. Sometimes it's necessary. Cancer pain. They're not even saying that they should even consider this for cancer pain. They should only, they don't have to not consider opioids, I'm saying, for cancer pain. Because cancer pain is tremendous. And so we're saying, don't take them off the market, but let's start being smarter about how we use them. And it's, a recent study concluded that the use of opioids in chronic, non-cancer-related pain lasting more than 3 months is ineffective and can be life-threatening. There it is. It's right there in the letter. When patients seek treatment for a myriad of conditions such as chronic pain, doctors should be encouraged to explore and prescribe effective non-opioid alternatives, ranging from non-opioid medications such as non-steroidal anti-inflammatories to physical therapy, acupuncture, massage, and chiropractic care. Finally, 100 and some odd years later, we've been vindicated. We were right all along that chiropractic is extremely effective for pain. But they're also not saying just chiropractic, massage, acupuncture. And I agree with this. I mean, I'm a chiropractor. I've been in practice 33, 34 years now. Most of the patients that come see my doctors get amazing results when they follow their recommendations. Most of them. Every now and then, it's rare, we come across a patient that we have to co-manage the case. So we might send them out for pain management. We have several pain management doctors that we work with. And maybe an injection is appropriate. Maybe medications are appropriate. We send patients out for MRIs all the time just to make sure that there's nothing underlying that we're missing that we didn't see on an x-ray or an exam. And so the world has changed so much in the past 20 years, 10 years. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, chiropractors, medical doctors, they never were even talking to each other. Orthopedic surgeons didn't like neurosurgeons. Neurosurgeons didn't like orthopedic surgeons. There was this battle in the healthcare community among healthcare providers saying, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. And now, finally, it's come to a place, and this is the only good thing that's come out of this insurance debacle, this mess that's out there that we call insurance, which I don't even want to use that word anymore because it's not insurance. It's a bogus lie that's going on out there. But finally, we're all coming together, and it's kind of made some strange bedfellows where at least once or twice a week now, a medical group, an orthopedic, a neurologist, pain management doctor is taking me out to dinner, taking me out to lunch, coming to my office. Doc, can we see how you work? Can we shadow you and follow you around? Because we want to learn your techniques. Because the patients that you're seeing, many of them come back and say, oh my gosh, it's like a miracle. And they want to learn what we're doing. 20, 30 years ago, wouldn't even talk to us. And we refer out, they refer back. So it really is exciting to see the world of healthcare. And I see it not only just healthcare, but with pain management as well, that people are now getting co-managed. And in many cases, it's what's necessary. So from the letter from the state's attorneys generals that were sent out to insurance companies, adopting an incentive structure that rewards the use of non-opioid pain management techniques for chronic non-cancer patients will have many benefits. So what they're saying is we have to incentivize everyone involved, and they explain. Given the correlation between increased supply and opioid use, the societal benefits speak for themselves. Beyond that, incentivizing opioid alternatives promotes incentive-based techniques, so we've got to give people a reason to not use the opioids, that are more effective at mitigating this type of pain and overall and over the long run, more cost effective. Thus, adopting such policies benefit the patient, society, and insurers. So who loses when we have things that are more effective and less dangerous than opioid use? Nobody. Maybe the opioid manufacturers, I guess they do. But you, the patient, we, the doctors, the insurance companies spend less money. Patients get better faster, generally speaking, not always. Patients get better faster for less money in less time. They lose less work. The insurance companies have less payouts to the doctors. Patients pay less copays. There's no downside to what we've been preaching, we, my alternative healthcare practitioners, for the past 100+ years. And finally now it's being recommended by the state's attorneys general. Guess what? They're not the only ones making the recommendation. Let me cover this here. Revised standards effective January 1st, 2018 require that the commission, it's a commission that accredits hospitals. It's called the Joint Commission. Joint Commission currently evaluates and accredits more than 21,000 healthcare organizations and programs throughout the United States, including nearly 90% of all U.S. hospitals. It's issued a revised pain assessment and management standards. So now the Joint Commission, who accredits hospitals and healthcare providers, is also saying we need to reevaluate the use of opioids here. And again, effective January 18th, it required that the Commission's accredited hospitals to provide non-pharmacological pain treatment modalities as necessary in a performance element, which means when it's appropriate. Chiropractic is included among the potential non-drug treatment options hospitals can utilize to meet the standard. So here now the people that accredit hospitals are saying this is what you need to do. Now, although some conditions, behavioral programs, acupuncture, chiropractic surgery, as well as FDA-approved multimodality pain strategies have been proven to reduce the use of opioids while providing effective pain management. Finally, you, the patient, hopefully are going to come out on top. Hopefully everybody follows the rules here. The reimbursement policies, as well as health insurance providers and other payers, create barriers to adopt these strategies. So the insurance companies, and this is what I never understood. I mean, I'm pretty smart, but I can't figure out why companies like insurance companies, for example, would limit the amount of non-pharmacological treatment when it's cheaper and more effective in most cases than what they're doing right now. If there was a way to do somebody's job cheaper and more effectively, I'd want to do that if I'm a business owner. So I don't understand why these barriers have been put up. But finally, I think that's going to come to an end. So this is why I'm so excited to tell you guys about it on this show, because you need to know that. And if you do go to hospitals and you do go to healthcare providers and they say, let's go right to the opioids, you can say, don't you know about the Joint Commission? Don't you know about the new guidelines? Now, they may not. And this is why if you're listening and you work in a hospital, if you work in a healthcare facility, and you don't know how to meet those guidelines, you can contact me. My website is drjoeesposito.com. You can just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. And I will be more than happy to sit down with you and show you how to set up those guidelines so that you meet the Joint Commission's new requirements and you don't risk losing your accreditation for not following the guidelines. And sometimes people just aren't informed. You know, you might have heard it, but the people in your hospital may not have heard it, or the people in the one part of the hospital don't know. So that's why if you're listening, I'm more than happy to help you out anywhere in the country. But it's the U.S., so I can help you here. But anywhere around the world, if you have guideline issues, I can help you out. So the goal now, what's happening in pain management, is trying to get to the cause. They don't say this, but they're getting to the cause of the problem and not just treating the symptoms. And that's what every patient that's ever walked in my offices for the past 34 years have said. Doc, I want to try to get to the cause of my problem. And that's why we're good at that. And that's why I'm excited to be one of the people that is leading the drive for this, which makes it very exciting. Talk some more. 2017 revised standards do not prohibit commission-accredited hospitals from pharmacological approaches. So this is important too to understand this. They're not saying you can't use the drugs. The standards emphasize safe opioid and non-opioid prescription for the patient education on pain management plans, and the potential side effects of the treatment. So we have to tell the patient, oh, by the way, if you take this, these are some of the side effects you can expect. The standards also make pain assessment and pain management an organizational priority to be adopted by hospitals, so they have to do it. Joint Commission's revised standards represent a continuing trend in healthcare organizations toward non-drug pain management and away from opioids and other drugs. So this is the trend in healthcare. This is what's happening. People are going more toward the non-drug, non-surgical approach when appropriate. There are times when surgery is appropriate. There are times when spinal injections are appropriate. There are times when medication is appropriate, but not always. And this is why when you come in our offices, we work real hard to address the cause of your problem, and we do a lot of work with nutrition. If you've listened to my show before, you know I cover a lot of nutrition because you have control over what you put in your body. And there are certain foods that will make pain worse. There are certain triggers for, let's say, migraine headaches. Caffeine triggers my headaches. I can't do caffeine. Certain nuts can trigger headaches. Perfumes, hairsprays, carpet cleaners, deodorants, colognes, shampoos. A lot of these things can trigger your pain. So I feel that we've got to go even one step further, and I believe we will in the future, beyond what the Joint Commission is recommending, and then look at somebody's diet. If you're eating things like alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, these foods are pro-inflammatory. They increase inflammation, which can increase the pain. Eating things like fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds are anti-inflammatory and can bring down the pain. Something we use a lot in our office is Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source on our pain patients because it alkalizes the system. Most of us are too acidic. If you're too acidic, that can irritate the nerves and increase your pain. So by taking things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, it can help mitigate the pain, alkalize the system, and it gives you the raw materials, the nutrients that you need for the body to heal. So that's why I recommend all my patients, with very few exceptions, take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. It gives you energy, it helps the brain work better, it gives you the raw materials, the minimum amount of nutrients you need for a day. It's a core supplement, one of the basic ones that everybody needs. Now, if you want more information about that, you can go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, all one word, or just Google Dr. Joe, and go to store, and you'll see information on Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Try it. If I can just beg you to try it for a month and see what happens. You don't like it? It's about $2, $2.50 a day. If you do like it, which almost everyone does, you can just get on automatic reorder and keep this going for you and your family. And that's at drjoeesposito.com. Also on Amazon, if you have an Amazon account. Now, folks, if you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We would love the opportunity for my doctors to meet with you, with me to meet with you, to discuss your healthcare problems and see if you have something that I think we can help. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you want to start getting well, not just out of pain, but well, go to my website to make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com. You can do it online. You can call us. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. So go to the website, make the appointment right now, drjoeesposito.com. With car accidents, I've never seen a car accident ever where the car was damaged where the occupants weren't. So if you've ever been in a car accident, you were hurt, and if the car was damaged. So go to the website right now. Don't wait. Go now. drjoeesposito.com or Google Dr. Joe, or you can call us, and we will set you up a time as soon as possible to come in. So I want to talk some more about chronic pain. That's kind of our topic of conversation today. And what happens when you're in pain? We talked about the new Joint Commission guidelines that say before we start prescribing opioids, we should consider alternative treatments first. And if they don't work, you can always go to opioids. Most cases, they do work. And that's why the Joint Commission, the group that accredits hospitals and healthcare facilities, is recommending this. So we can hopefully save a lot of lives because there's a lot of people dying every single day from opioid abuse. And they don't mean to become abusive. That's the kicker. I don't know anyone who is a drug addict has gone in and said, I'm going to become a drug addict when I take my first hit, my first joint, my first pill, my first shot. I'm going to become a drug addict and I'm excited about it. See, what happens is there's centers in your brain that suppress pain. One of the neurotransmitters in your brain is called GABA, G-A-B-A. And when GABA is released, it suppresses other neurotransmitters. And about 90% of your brain is suppressing the other 10%. Isn't that wild? And so if the balance is off, if you have more stimulus coming in than you can suppress, then you start having pain. So what do? You turn to an outside source. And you take things that will make you feel good. Sugar, for example. Sugar is a big addiction. I believe sugar and coffee are the biggest addictions we have out there because they're readily available. And how many people drink coffee and eat sugar? A lot of people almost every day. So sugar, for example, it goes into your brain and it stimulates a part of your brain called the nucleus accumbens. And the nucleus accumbens stimulates your dopamine receptor sites. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that makes you feel good. It gives you pleasure. And so when those dopamine receptor sites start firing off, you start going, "Ooh, baby, I like this. I'm feeling good." Because when you do pleasurable things, that's what you feel. So you associate the thing you're doing with pleasure. And what do you want to do? You want to have more pleasure. And that's where the problems start to come in. Because we start firing off the dopamine receptor sites in the brain, and you get high. And then eventually your body stops producing so much of its own dopamine or its own suppressive neurotransmitters because it's getting it from an outside source. And then when you try to come off that outside source, the body's not ready for it and goes, "Oh, dude, I was very happy when you were giving me that outside stimulus." And then you want more. And then eventually you get to the point where you can't handle not having this outside external stimulus, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, gambling. And so now you become an addict. An addiction, by definition, is something that you're doing on a regular basis that's adversely affecting your life. There's your addiction. And so the opioids are real easy to get addicted to, and then many times if you can't get the prescription opioids, you segue over to heroin, which you sometimes can buy on the street, from what I hear, and now you become a heroin addict. And you think, "Oh my gosh, Bob's a heroin addict. He lives on the streets. It's disgusting. He's a waste of society." Well, maybe not. Maybe Bob's brain just can't function without this external stimulus. It's how the brain was set up. And so it's a little difficult to get people off. In fact, I had a patient come in the other day, and he sat me down. He said, "Dr. Joe," he sees one of my other doctors, and he says, "I want to talk to you, Dr. Joe." And me, him, and Dr. Irwin sat and chatted. And he says, "A friend of mine can't go more than 2 days without alcohol. Any money he has, he spends on alcohol. And he wants to quit, but he can't." He says, "What's your first suggestion?" I said, "My first suggestion is this. Any addict I've ever met, I've met a lot, are always nutritionally deficient. Because the drugs are either robbing the body of nutrients or they're living a lifestyle that doesn't give them nutrients." I said, "So we got to start pumping mega doses of nutrients into this guy's body." And I said, of course I told him, start with Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Let's start there. And start giving it to him instead of 1 dose a day, which is what I recommend for most people. I want you to give him 3 doses a day. Then have him listen to my CDs. I've got CDs. One is called The 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. And you can watch it on my Facebook, my website. I have a YouTube channel. It's drjoeesposito.com. And The 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition is one of the things I have on Dr. Joe's lectures or videos. And I said, have him listen to this. And then I have another CD that I gave him called So What Can I Eat? And I give that to all my patients when they come in. We do a nutritional evaluation on all our patients. And part of the treatment plan is I give them these CDs to listen to. And so I said, let's start there and let's hopefully start addressing logic. Because when addiction is there, logic goes out the window. But if we start giving him mega doses of nutrition and we start to educate him in this new lifestyle and he wants to make a change, hopefully we can save this fella's life. So the Super Greens, the Essential Source, I recommend almost everybody take them. And here's another reason why people should be taking it. Because you give the body the nutrients that it needs, it functions more efficiently. And it tastes great, relatively inexpensive. If you want more information on that, it's on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Also on Amazon. If you just look up Dr. Joe or Dr. Joe Esposito, you can go to our Amazon page if you have an Amazon account. And the stuff is great. Tastes good. Good for kids. People come to me all the time and say, "Dr. Joe, what would you recommend as a supplement for kids?" I said, take the Super Greens and Essential Source, get a frozen banana, add some coconut milk or almond milk, because I don't do dairy, I don't recommend dairy, and whip it up into a smoothie. And start giving it to kids when they're really young. Start giving it to them. And it's amazing. Because unfortunately with children is that many times you don't have to be super smart. You just have to not dumb yourself down. And a lot of that dumbing down comes from the horrible food kids are eating. So, folks, that's all on the website, drjoeesposito.com. I also archive all my radio shows, my live lectures. I have videos, tons of videos and lectures, articles that I've written. Website's a great source of information if you're serious about wanting to get well and stay well for you, your friends, and family. So, again, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We would love the opportunity to get you on a path to getting well and staying well. So you can book an appointment right online, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. You can send us an email. You can call us. The phone number's on the website, and we'll get you set up as soon as possible. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. We want to be your doctors. And we want to do that as soon as possible. Now, if you're not in the area where we practice, we can always do that. We can do nutrition over the phone. But if you want to make an appointment for you, your friends, and family, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. That's drjoeesposito.com. Folks, got to go to a break. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. What we're talking about today, exciting news. This is big news in the world of healthcare, and I wish it would get more press. Unfortunately, it's not. But it's the new pain management guidelines. Now, why is that exciting? Because the pain management guidelines, and I'm board certified in pain management. I'm I think I'm the only chiropractor in my state that's board certified in pain management. But pain management doctors are used for pain management. And it's kind of neat because when I go to conferences and conventions, or sometimes we have dinners together, it's always neat because people, first of all, know who I am. They listen to my radio shows are heard all over the world. So a lot of doctors know who I am, and we refer back and forth all the time. But some doctors haven't had the opportunity to just sit down one-on-one. And they'll kind of trap me in a corner sometimes. In fact, funny story, I was in a men's room one day, and a guy starts standing next to me and says, you're Dr. Joe, right? Yeah. Hey, listen, can I ask you a question? How would you treat blah, blah, blah? And it's neat because the pain management doctors have a limited amount of ammunition they can use. They have the drugs, they have the opioids, they have injections. Sometimes physical therapy ties into that. But sometimes that doesn't work, and they get stuck. And so they'll come to me and they'll say, well, what would you do for a case like this? And what would you do in a case like that? And I always teach them this, that I support exercise, I support physical therapy. But if the bone is out of place pinching a nerve, you don't want to exercise that patient quite yet, in most cases, because you may be building up strong muscles around crooked bones. I want you building up strong muscles around straight bones. Different way of looking at things, isn't it? And that's why so many professional amateur athletes come see us as patients, because they say, Dr. Joe, that makes sense. I don't want to work out and make my problem worse, or lock in, if that's the right word, my misaligned bones. I want to get the bones aligned and also do the workout as well. And so as one of the few chiropractors board certified in pain management, we see a lot of pain patients. And for years, I was mystified. Why is it that with pain management cases, we're not using the tools that work the best for the least amount of money in the fastest amount of time with the least amount of missed work or downtime? Why are we not using that first as our first line of defense in pain management, and then going to the more aggressive steps first? Starting out with a very low risk treatment and then building up from there. I always say chiropractic first, drugs second, and surgery last when it comes to pain. So finally, September 18th, 2017, the National Association of Attorneys General sent a letter out to insurance companies that said they should start considering utilizing alternative treatments such as chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, non-opioid treatments, because it's going to be cheaper for them, better for the patient, cheaper for the patient, less downtime, and the risk of addiction is extremely low when it comes to things like chiropractic and massage. In fact, I don't think there is an addiction level. And so it's kind of exciting, because this is something I've been preaching now ever since I started graduate school back in 1981, that we should be addressing the cause of the problem, not just treating the symptoms. And now it's become the guidelines. Also, the Joint Commission, which is a group that accredits hospitals and healthcare providers, they are now saying, too, that they should be using non-pharmacological pain treatment modalities, including things like chiropractic care, in their pain patients. So, needless to say, I'm excited. But what happens when you're in pain? Let's cover that now. We've all been in pain, and you've heard me talk a lot about pain, and pain is often related to pinched nerves or irritated nerves, and that causes the pain. But did you know 90% of your nerves don't feel pain? Now think about this for a second. You don't feel your blood pressure, your spleen, your kidneys, your earwax, your toenails, all controlled by nerves. So you can have a pinched nerve or an irritated nerve and not know it. So that's pretty exciting that, yeah, the pain management level is here, but I want to take it even beyond that. So if I pinch a nerve to your spleen, how do you know it? Well, the spleen may malfunction and you may not know it. In fact, I have patients literally all day, every day. And just before I went on the air, one of my secretaries, I just her yesterday, and she came to me. She says, Dr. Joe, as always, you're my hero. You saved me. She works out a lot. And she says, my back is a million times better. And she said, I was really constipated yesterday. She goes, and now my stomach's flat and I'm feeling better. And she said something that's just warmed my heart. She said, why doesn't the whole world just get chiropractic care? She says, doesn't the world understand that the nerves control the organs? Now, this is like me talking. Doesn't the world understand that the nerves control the organs? And if you have a pinched nerve going to an organ, that organ can't work properly? And in her case, it was the bowels, and her constipation went away almost immediately. And I said, Ashley, I'm working on it. I'm working real hard to get that message out there. So one of the things that happens when you have pain is whatever on the other end of that nerve doesn't work properly. So whether it's the spleen, the liver, the kidneys, the ears, the arms. Anybody have this? Patients come in all the time. Dr. Joe, I don't have really pain, but my arm is numb. My hands are cold. My feet are cold. My feet feel like they're falling asleep. My muscles are weak. It's probably a pinched nerve. Could be something more, but it's usually a pinched nerve. But what else happens when you're in pain? So now we want to add something new. New study out. Chronic pain is associated with decreased prefrontal and thalamic gray matter density. Doesn't that sound like it's exciting? Let me explain it to you, Lucy. I'll put it to you in English. Patients with chronic back pain show a 5 to 11% less neocortical gray matter volume than control subjects. Put in English, your brain shrinks when you're a chronic pain patient. The magnitude of this decrease is equivalent to the gray matter volume lost in 10 to 20 years of normal aging. So you're a chronic pain patient, your brain shrinks like it would 20 years from now. The decrease in volume is related to pain duration, indicating a 1.3 centimeter loss of gray matter for every year of chronic pain. So 1.3 centimeters lost for every year that you're in chronic pain. So why are so many of you suffering needlessly? This is a rhetorical question. Because we know that there are answers to pain management. The state's attorneys general, the Joint Commission that accredits hospitals and healthcare providers are now saying, here's your answer, folks. Something I've been saying since 1981. But here's your answer. Let's try the non-pharmacological approaches first. Because they save money, they save time, patients get better faster, in most cases. If it's not something that's going to respond, and you don't follow my recommendations or your non-pharmacological pain recommendations, we can always go to a more aggressive step. And that's really exciting to me because finally everyone's agreeing with me. And I will put that in the Dr. Joe was right column. How about that? That's a big column, by the way. Been doing that for years, and I really have a list of the Dr. Joe was right column. I have to find out what, and I put these things in there. But I want to talk a little bit more about the opioid crisis, continue that. We're really starting to rethink the frontline approach to pain, which is pretty exciting. So statistics, I'll throw out some statistics if you're that type of person. We said 91% of Americans die every day from opioid overdose. That includes prescription opioids and heroin. So these are just the facts. 200% of prescription opioid overdoses, there's an increase, 200% increase since the year 2000. It's pretty high. 125 million Americans are reported misusing prescription pain relievers in the past year. 125 million Americans are admitting that they're misusing their drugs. 80% of heroin users reported using prescription opioids for non-medical reasons before beginning the use of heroin. It's a gateway drug. And it's interesting, we talk about pot being a gateway drug. When you smoke pot or you do alcohol, and that's going to lead to other drugs. Here, it's become the other way around. Prescription drugs are now the gateway drugs to things like heroin. In Georgia, the state of Georgia, 549 opioid drug overdoses in the past, 2 years ago. 29 counties where drug overdose rates outpaced the U.S. average, and Georgia ranks 11th among the top states with the most prescription opioid drugs. And I just pulled Georgia out as an example. So getting to the cause of the problem is much more effective, and people like it. And so often, every day, patients come to my offices and they'll tell my doctors and I, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I wait so long? And my answer to them is, I don't know. Why are you suffering needlessly? I talk a lot about nutrition because that's the three things you have to have for not only pain management but overall health. A normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. That's what you have to have. Those are the rules. And if you have a pinched nerve, unpinch it. If you're eating poorly, eat better. Take supplements. I take supplements every day. I take a handful of supplements. I take, first of all, Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source first thing in the morning because I don't have to have breakfast then. I can skip breakfast because I'm getting the nutrients that I need, and I don't get hungry till around 10, 11 o'clock. And I wake up pretty early every day. But 10, 11 o'clock, I start getting hungry. And then I'll have a couple of handfuls of nuts, almonds, walnuts, pecans, pistachios, sunflowers, sometimes almond butter, cashew butter. Lunch varies. Sometimes I skip lunch. But I get a little weak and I get a little shaky if I don't eat for a certain amount of time. So it's usually a salad, maybe some beans, chickpeas. I'm a vegan, so I don't eat any animal products. But I try to have something raw at every meal. Super Greens and Essential Source are raw. Salad is raw. Avocados, guacamole, things like that. And then dinner varies. But the other day, for example, I went out with a friend of mine, and he wanted to go to a commercial chain buffet. I won't say the name, of course. And they have meat and they have chicken. It wasn't cheap. It was like $14. And I think I'd be kidding me. As a vegan, that's like 3 weeks worth of food right there. But I went in and I had salad and I had some of the cooked vegetables. I made sure I didn't have any animal products in them. And I had like 4 plates of this. And at the end, I was full. And I looked around me and I looked at the people eating there. And I was shocked and devastated that this is what our society has come to. Because I usually don't go to places like that. You had people that are obese and just fat. I used to be fat, so I can say fat. You fat, obese people, 4, 5, 6, 8 plates stacked up in front of them. And they're eating the fried fish and the fried chicken and the ribs and the meats and the sauces and the gravies on top of everything and the mashed potatoes. And I thought, wow, you just spent $14. Hopefully you left a tip too. And a drink. I didn't have a drink. So $15, $16 plus a tip to poison yourself. You paid a lot of money to put junk in your body when you could have spent a lot less money and put good food in your body. And I watched them walk, and every one of them, the big ones, were waddling, and you can see their back and their feet were hurting, their knees were hurting. And there's one lady, I chuckled to myself. She had a to-go box, and she was very morbidly obese. And she was at the salad bar. And she had a to-go box. So she's loading up her to-go box with salad. I'm assuming her thought was, I'm eating salad, I'm healthy. And then I watched her. And then she put the cheese and the pepperoni and the meats and the sausages and the gravies, whatever, the dressings on top of it. And I thought, well, there goes your salad. You got like a couple of pieces of lettuce and a bunch of cheese and pepperoni on top of it. But the reason I say that, because we're talking about pain management today, is those foods are very inflammatory. They're going to cause inflammation, which is going to increase your pain. So for breakfast, I said Super Greens and Essential Source. I think everybody should do that for breakfast. Nuts, pretty simple. Nuts or snacks like that. Lunch, sometimes I go out to lunch if I have a meeting or something like that. And then dinner varies. My food bill is ridiculously low compared to everybody else's. So if you eat well just because you want to save money, good. If you eat well because you want to reduce your inflammation, good. If you eat well because you want to live longer, you want to lose weight, you want to have more energy, you want to have improvement of your love life, you want your brain to work better, good. So I don't care what your motivation is, the way to get there is the same. More fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And when it comes to pain management, it's pretty powerful. 80% U.S. consumption of all the world's prescription opioid supply. We here take 80% of the opioids in the world. $56 billion per year, U.S. prescription opioid abuse cost. 25% of all workers' comp costs are related to opioids. 25%. Wow. And that's why in our offices we see a lot of car accidents and we see a lot of workers' comp injuries. Because people get hurt and many times they say, Doc, I'm just not getting the results I want. What else can I do? And now the insurance companies, the bosses will send them to our offices. And in most cases, they get well pretty quickly, relatively inexpensive, and they're pretty happy with the whole thing. And I used to joke and said a year's worth of treatment in my offices are less than 1 day in a hospital. Well, I cut my mouth years ago. I told this story a while ago. I cut my mouth years ago on a Sunday. And the gal I was dating at the time, she said, you got to go to hospital, it's bleeding. I said, no, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. So the bleeding stopped, but she made me go. So I went because I don't want to tick off my then girlfriend. And I walked into the hospital. I waited about an hour. It was a Sunday. It wasn't very crowded. The doctor opened my mouth, looked in there, and said, stop bleeding. I said, yep. He says, how's it feel? I said, it's okay. He says, you want a tetanus shot? I said, nope. He said, okay, if it keeps bleeding or gets infected, come back and see us. Literally, that was the whole conversation. And when I got the bill, I realized something, that a year's worth of treatment in our offices is not the equivalent of 1 day in a hospital. It's the equivalent of about 8, not even 2 minutes with the ER doctor. And I went, wow, that's crazy. So it's very inexpensive to get well, too. So that's pretty exciting. And that's why I recommend you do things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Eat the right foods. I take omega-3 fatty acids every day. I take algae oil because I don't eat fish. I take vitamin D in the winter, 5,000 international units a day. And I eat a good diet with Super Greens and Essential Source as well. And so that's my core supplement protocol. And then oftentimes I'll take adrenal supplements because the adrenal glands as we get older get weak, and I'll take adrenal supplements. And it's not hard. It's really easy and relatively inexpensive to get well and stay well. So folks, if you want to make an appointment to come see us, whether it's back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, maybe you have acid reflux, heartburn, many times we have to adjust or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm, physically moving the stomach. And that helps with brain function. It helps with digestion. It helps with the bloating, the gas, your romance drive. Got to keep it clean. It's a family show. Whatever your healthcare issues are, hopefully we can help. So if you want to make an appointment, my website is there 24 hours a day, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world, and we will make you an appointment. We accept people with all insurances. We work with your insurance plan. Even if we're not in network, many times we work with the benefits that you have if we can. We accept Medicare, car accidents, sports injuries. If you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. So don't wait. Stop wasting time and wasting valuable healing years. Patients come in every day. I don't know why I didn't do this 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And my answer is, I don't know. Why didn't you? So don't be one of those patients. If you're ready to get well, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We will set you up a time as soon as possible to come see me and my team of doctors. We want to get you well and keep you well. So make an appointment right now, drjoeesposito.com. So I want to give you a little more overview on the opioid crisis because we only have a few minutes left here. But what are opioids? They're drugs derived from or similar to opium. And that would be morphine, heroin, oxycodone, OxyContin, hydrocodone, fentanyl, methadone. I mean, you probably know some of these words. Nearly half of all opioid overdose deaths involve prescription opioids. So half the people that are dying got it from their doctor, and many times they took them the right way, and they can die, but oftentimes it's abused. But the thing is this. I'm 6 foot, maybe 6'1", extremely handsome. I can say that I'm on radio, so I can lie. And I weigh about 190, 192 pounds. Okay, so I've got an average thin build on myself. Now, they would give a prescription similar to me that you might give to somebody who weighs 120 pounds, who might be much younger or much older, who might be in different shape. Now, I don't eat animal products. My body responds differently to medication. I respond very well to medication because my body's not used to it, which is good. So if I need to take medication, I got to be careful not to take, I usually don't take the recommended dosage because I respond pretty quickly. But I always monitor with my doctors and talk to them. So we don't know how you're going to respond to a new drug until you take it. Anybody ever do that? Take a drug, go back to the doctor, it didn't work, doc, or it's raised my blood pressure, or I'm dizzy now, or I can't sleep, or I'm irritable, or I'm moody. Well, let's try a different drug. So we don't have a way to customize the drug for you. Now, that's the future of medication. We can do DNA tests and find out what's going to work best for you. So we can do these boutique drugs or these customized drugs, but that's still several years off. So we don't know what's going to happen when you take some of these medications, and sometimes you don't realize you're high, and maybe you get in a car accident, you fall down the stairs. People who are addicted to alcohol are 2 times more likely to be addicted to heroin. Marijuana, 3 times more likely to be addicted to heroin. Cocaine, 15 times more likely to be addicted to heroin. And the opioid painkillers, people are 40 times more likely to be addicted to heroin. So it's a gateway drug, unfortunately. So we want to try to reduce the prescription opioid painkiller abuse. And that's improved opioid painkiller prescribing practices and identify high-risk individuals. So if somebody is on alcohol or marijuana or cocaine, got to be honest. Patients come to me all the time and say, Doc, listen, I smoke pot. I'm on this. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help you get better. And many times they'll say to me, Doc, listen, I've listened to your radio shows, I've done my research, and I understand that as an addict, I need to get nutrients into my body so my body works more efficiently. And then we'll sit down, we'll do a prescription, we'll do a dietary workup for them. We'll get them on supplements like super greens and essential source, and maybe omega-3 fatty acids to help inflammation, vitamin D to help the immune system. Most addicts, they burn out their adrenal glands. Get them on adrenal supplements. And so we want to work with the person based on their specific needs. And that's what we do. We do a specific nutrition protocol for each one of our patients. Most of the patients follow my advice. Some don't. The ones that don't inevitably end up back in the office. Had a patient come in the other day. He came in one visit, felt better. I told him, don't stop coming in just because you feel better after one treatment. He knew better than I did. Got in a car accident, came back 2 weeks later. Dr. Joe, you were right. I said, well, you never even saw your x-rays that we took. Let's go over your x-rays. And I showed him his x-rays. They were a mess. Then I took new x-rays after the car accident and showed him how much worse the spine was. And he said, I didn't realize how bad my spine was. I just had a little neck pain. But when you showed me the x-rays with the misalignments, it didn't have the proper curvature, the bone spurs, he said, I can't argue with that, can I? I said, no, you can't. That's why you want to get your spine checked. He says, all right, Dr. Joe, I'm yours. Whatever you say to do, I'm going to do. And I'm sorry I didn't listen to you the first time. Most patients aren't like that. Most people do listen the first time, and it solves a whole lot of problems. But if you have bones out of alignment, whether it's car accident, sports injury, workers' comp, just sitting at a desk, over time, those bones are going to rub up against each other, and the discs or the joints are going to wear out. How often? 100% of the time. If a bone is misaligned, it will wear out, guaranteed 100%. It has to. The tires on your car are out of alignment. They have to wear out. It's just the way it is. And so if you have misalignments and you have a little neck pain, little back pain, oh, it's no big deal, tain't nothing. Well, those tain't nothing patients are the ones that eventually come to us with real serious issues that require a lot of treatment. Sometimes we can never get it back to normal. We can get it closer. We can't get it back. So stop waiting. Stop wasting time when you can get to us or somebody who's qualified and get the body fixed. And everywhere I go around the country, when I lecture around the country, doctors, chiropractors come up to me, medical doctors come up to me and say, Dr. Joe, thank you for what you're doing. And I say, what do you mean? I don't even know you. I'm in wherever. And they'll say, my patients listen to your show and they follow their recommendations now. And I just want to thank you for doing that. Because not only from the doctor's standpoint, it's great business, but you're going to spend less money long term. You're going to be healthier short term and long term. The insurance company's going to spend less money. Nobody loses when you get healthy. Everybody wins. So why would you not want to do the one thing where everybody wins? To me, that's a no-brainer. Get the nervous system working. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, we may have to adjust or fix your stomach. Get on a good diet. If you don't know what to eat, if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, front page says sign up for the newsletter. Click on that, send me your email address. I'm going to send you a link to a lecture I did called So What Can I Eat? It's free. And then you get to listen. I don't try to sell you anything when I send you the CD, or the lecture, and you could listen to it and it says, So What Can I Eat? We have hundreds of hours of radio shows archived on the website, videos of my lectures. Go to the website, spend some time. If you're working out, if you're traveling, a lot of people when they travel, they'll just put on their phone and just listen to show after show, because I want to educate you how you can take control of your own health. If you want to order Super Greens, Essential Source, my books, Eating Right for the Health of It, tells you how to change your diet, Prescription for Extreme Health, overall protocol on how to manage your body. It's like an owner's manual. All on the website, drjoeesposito.com. Just Google Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. If your bowels are not moving 2 to 3 times a day, it's there. We have formulas where if you have a cold, I have something I take called Seasonal Booster to help if you have a cold, and I have something to help the immune system. Those are all on the website as well, drjoeesposito.com. Or, say it with me, Google Dr. Joe, the #1 Dr. Joe in the world. It's not hard to get well, folks. It's pretty easy if you take control, and that's what the website is there for you to have tools to manage your health. Now, if you want to make an appointment, come see us. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We would love the opportunity to be your doctors. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. Stop suffering. Make the appointment, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We will get you set up as soon as possible, usually same day, next day if we can. We're going to get you in. And be amazed what it's like to be well. Patients say all the time, Dr. Joe, I had no idea how sick I was until I got better. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, Make the appointment. If you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. So people, the biggest regret they have is, I wish I'd gotten well sooner. I had so many wasted years. What was David Cassidy's last words? So much wasted time. Don't be one of those people. Don't waste your time. Make the appointment right now, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time.